Welcome everybody back to another special edition of the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. It's yet another interview, but today we're not interviewing wrestlers. No, not today anyway. But if we do interview wrestlers, sometimes we get them from the people that we're interviewing today. And this will be the team at PODSTARZ. How are you guys doing?
I'm just great, man. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to a nice chat. Haven't talked to someone across the pond in quite some time, so very happy to be here.
Yeah, no, thank you for joining us. And it's starting to get dark over here. So your guys are in mid-afternoon, right?
Yeah, I just got home from work. It's 30 degrees outside, and my AC just shut down, so things are looking good for me.
30-degree heat, no AC. Well, it is summer over here in the UK, but we're not quite at that stage. We rarely, if the sun comes out, it's generally a miracle, to be fair. So it's all good. But let's go talk. So for those of you for those people that don't know who you guys are, just explain to everybody before we get into the story and how
Sure.
it come together. How does PodStars work?
Basically, man, we connect podcasters with guests that otherwise may be unattainable. So celebrities, like we're not talking like A-list like Ben Affleck or John Cena or anything, but we're getting pretty close, and we have a pretty great roster, and we generally are trying to help the podcast community. As a podcaster myself, I know how hard it is. I know the struggle. So yeah, I mean, we'll get into the story, but that's basically what we do. We want to give the podcast community some incredible people to talk to, and quickly, instead of having to reach out through social media and DMs and emails and begging and pleading, just we're a one-stop shop here at PodStars, and we're here to help.
Exactly that, and I can say that I've definitely done all of those things that you've just mentioned in one, as well as obviously use PodStars, and we'll get into our stories about the people that we've got off you guys very shortly. Yeah, very much a case of can do it very quickly. So let's go way back. How did this idea manifest into something that we're seeing today?
Alcohol. Alcohol. Truthfully, man, what happened was during the first wave of the pandemic, everyone's locked down, no one can do anything. I was sitting in my garage doing people watching. What little people would come out of their house anyway, and I was indulging maybe a little too much in the daddy sodas. And my wife came up to me and said, like, enough is enough. You have to find a hobby. You can't sit through the entire pandemic in the garage getting hammered. And I totally agreed with her. So I did what everyone else did. I started my own podcast because I was a huge podcast fan. I was constantly listening to them. So I grew up with some, I wouldn't say shady characters, but with some people who had some great stories in and around our growing up together. So that's what I started. I started a comedy podcast talking about some of the crazy shenanigans we got up to as we were kids. I got about 10 episodes in, and a rather large company reached out to me and said, "We really like what you're doing." I don't know how they found me, by the way. I was just blown away. And we want to do ad reads on your show, but we want to see your download numbers. So I went on the Buzzsprout, and I transferred my RSS feed and all that good stuff. And they came back and they said, "No, you got to get your numbers up, and we want to invest in you." I said, "Well, do you have any ideas? Like, what did you want?" They said the best way is to have some brand names, some names attached to your podcast, so you can put on social media and people will download your show. So I hit the bricks. I was, contacting, DMing, emailing, everything I could. I would say 75% of the people that I reached out to didn't answer. And the ones who did answer, it was an outright no. Or I got a few people saying that they wanted to be paid.
Yeah.
Eventually, I did meet up with a wrestler. I'm not going to drop his name, but I met up with a wrestler who said, "If I come on your show, I want $75 US." I said, "Done, no problem." So I PayPal him the money. The day of the podcast, he didn't show up. I reached out to him on social media for over a week with no answers. And I was starting to get a little frustrated. I had the company reach out to me and say, "What's going on?" I said, I got ghosted. I don't know what to do. They basically said, "Well, that's not our problem. Provide the guest or we're going elsewhere." So I kept working, and eventually, the wrestler in question did come on my show, and we squared it all away. But while this was all happening, I just kept thinking to myself, with the popularity of podcasts, with the giant elephant in the room, which is 300 million podcasts or whatever it is, it shouldn't be this difficult to get people on your show, especially when we're all doing each other a favor. I mean, you're reaching out to the celebrities and they have stuff to promote, Comic-Con appearances, book signings, TV appearances, wrestling appearances, whatever the case is. They're promoting themselves and their brand. By them coming on your show, your downloads are going to go up. Hopefully you can start generating some ad revenue, and everybody wins at the end of the day. That being said, when I was reaching out to the podcast, to the celebrities for my podcast, I did get a lot of, I'm sick of doing these for free. I'm sick of being asked all the time. I shut my DMs off so people would stop asking me to come on podcasts. And there was a lot of general frustration from the celebrities that I was reaching out to. So I took this idea, I took all of these little nuggets and I transformed them into the PODSTARZ website, which is kind of like a cameo. Instead of a 30-second birthday shout out from Floyd Mayweather, you can have Jake the Snake Roberts come on your podcast for 45 minutes, talk about his amazing career, and he's going to show up. He's going to be on time because our website gives you email updates saying that the podcast no one can forget. It converts time zones for you, and the celebrities don't have to worry about being harassed anymore, nor do they have to worry about shutting their DMs out. It's a win-win-win for everybody. So that's basically what I did. That being said, when I came up with this idea, I had zero idea this website was going to be as expensive and time consuming as it was. As I'm not very familiar with websites and stuff like that, I thought it could just be a couple of quick buttons and you're off to the races. Incredibly wrong. So very wrong. Very, very time consuming, very expensive, and very frustrating. But now that we're up and running, the fruit of our labor is being seen, and we're all happy, and we're starting to blow up, and we're adding people every day. So we're getting good reviews, and we're happy that people like yourself have invested in PODSTARZ and taken a shot on us, and we have no bad reviews as of now, so we're happy to say.
Exactly that. No, we certainly have. We've had an abundance of interviews from you guys. Obviously, Jake the Snake being one of them. That was for me growing up as a wrestling fan, as in the sort of late 80s, early 90s. That was a big one for us to do. We've had a couple of that we've had on that you've since got on, like EC3, for example, but we will be getting him back via you because we need to, because we're doing we're doing now specialist series. That NWA, for example, is one of the big things that we do. We've got we do very own series with some of those guys, and we need EC3 back on because we want to continue that special series. So, for example, EC3, Aaron Stevens is another one that we'll be putting through. And you've announced somebody last week, and you can do that in a minute because we're definitely going to be one of the first to go in with that particular one. But when it comes to, so you've had this idea, so you've got this idea, you want to create this website, but now you've got to get people, basically, you've got to get the stars signed up. How does that go? How did that all go back? Because obviously you don't just do it for wrestling. This is, if you've got a podcast on baseball, there's baseball. If you've got a podcast on comedy, if you've got a podcast on health, there's people there that they can select off of your website. How did you start doing that? And what was that process like?
So right off the bat, the first way we did it was just reaching out through DMs and social media. So even though I said, it's a pain in the butt for the celebrities, that's the only way we could start.
Yeah.
We did initially go to our first Comic-Con where we had banners made and flyers and pens and mints and all that stuff. And we sat in front of the in front of the Comic-Con community, hoping there was podcasters. Few and far between. But we did. That gave us an in with the celebrities because we were with them for 2 days. We would see them in passing. We'd be able to shake their hand, give them a little bit of a rundown on what we do. And the ball started rolling really quick after our first Comic-Con. So one of our first big celebrities we got was Devon Dudley and Lisa Marie Varon, who used to be Tara in TNA and Victoria. So they were two of the first big wrestlers that we got. And once we got a few of the wrestlers under our belts, the dominoes started to fall pretty quick for the wrestling community because we didn't start off to be a wrestling website, but we have over 25 wrestlers, which I'm not complaining about by any means. I'm very happy to have each and every single one of them. But we are very wrestling heavy, and that's just because of word of mouth. They all do Comic-Cons together. They all know each other. They all travel in the same circles. And they all said, hey, if you guys want to make some money and stop being harassed by everybody, join up with PODSTARZ. And like I just had a conversation with Tugboat the other day. So Tugboat is going to be coming on to PODSTARZ at some time. We just have to get the technology base down for him because he's not exactly technology inclined. So he's going to need some help, but we're going to help Tugboat get on the website. So that's an up and coming announcement. But yeah, I mean, we also one of our goals is, and this was my personal goal, was I always felt that a lot of podcasters pigeonhole themselves by saying I'm just a such and such podcast. And by doing that, I think you're kind of limiting your reach of what you can do, how you can branch out. I mean, if you're an air fryer podcast, you can have 45 episodes on air frying, and eventually stuff's going to start to go downhill. I mean, you're going to lose your passion because it's going to be a little boring maybe, or something along those lines. So why not spice it up by going on the PodSTARZ website and getting a chef, a legitimate chef who can add to your air fryer podcast, and like just little things like that. We want to make sure that the entire podcast community has something for their shows. So I mean, like actors and actresses, NFL superstars, like we have a WNBA player, we have a gymnast. I mean, we have a South African safari guide. This guy is legitimate on the other side of the world, hanging out with elephants and koala bears, or sorry, not koala bears. That's wrong, wrong guy. But yeah, like elephants, giraffes, and all that good stuff. And he takes the time out to be on PodSTARZ. And who knows? The last time he did a podcast, he actually brought a snake onto the podcast.
Wow.
So I mean, you're getting bang for your buck at PodSTARZ.
Certainly are. One of the guys that you put on quite recently, who I always remember from watching TV, and obviously with us is a little bit niche because it is wrestling, but we've had like dart players on, because dart players over here in the UK
Oh,
are
huge in the UK. Yeah.
exactly, and they're also some of them are wrestling fans. Like one of the biggest, I mean, they've just come back from America recently, and Luke Littler, who's one of the biggest breakout dart stars, who's about 17 years old, and he's probably earned over £1 million already, come out to Cody Rhodes's thing, because
Oh, wow.
he got, so they do like walk-ons, so like a boxers and wrestlers will have walk-on themes, right? So his walk-on theme was he went to WrestleMania and he heard a song there, and he now used that song as his walk-on. But when he was over here, there was also over there, sorry, in America, in Madison Square Garden, he uses Cody Rhodes. But going back to what I was saying, is one of the guys that I always wanted to talk to, that you've actually got, is Sean Kelly
Oh, yes.
from story. Is it story? Was it Storage Hunters? I'm sure it was Storage Hunters. Well, that's the program.
One of those reality shows. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's in our influencer reality show window. Yeah.
yeah. He's another one I'd love to have, mainly for like just. Wouldn't even bother about even recording this podcast where I'll just have a chat with him for half an hour. It'd be, it'd just be great to do. Saying that, you mentioned obviously you got 25 wrestlers on there. Obviously everyone's going to throw out these crazy names that you pretty much know are very difficult to get. I mean, you do have to be careful about contracts though, right? With the contracts that they're in, WWE, for example.
So yes, anyone who, so this is prior to Vince McMahon.
Yes.
When we did reach out to WWE, obviously they were off limits, and they were nice enough. No, not one person was rude. They were like, "I'm sorry, I'd love to do it, but we're not allowed under our current deal."
Yes.
That may or may not have changed. I'm actually going to Comic-Con this weekend in Niagara Falls, where there's a few WWE people, so I'm going to get that, see if that window's opened.
Yeah.
AEW, as far as I know, there's select people who can't do podcasts, and there are some who can.
Okay.
Then there were just some people who are unattainable, like Daniel Bryan, for instance. Was supposed to be at this Comic-Con in Niagara. He backed out last minute. Daniel Bryan's worth like $30 million. I doubt he's going to want to take time out of his day to be on PodSTARZ, but I asked them regardless. Like Chris Jericho's there on the Saturday. I'm gonna
Yeah.
slip him a business card, and I'm gonna just, I know the guy's got 17 jobs between being his own podcaster, being in a band, being in AEW, writing books. I mean, like I said, I never close any doors, but yeah, I mean, I try and get everybody. NWA, TNA, they're good to go. So
Yeah.
like you said, one of my big announcements is a current TNA superstar. So yeah, it's just basically WWE. And now that things have changed, now the forbidden doors being opened, I'm hoping that maybe we can have access to a few WWE superstars. And we did just sign an NXT superstar who was allowed to do it, so she's on our site now. So yeah, let's see how things shake out.
I remember her name. I've seen it.
I want to say it's Asia or Ava. I forget her name as well. She just signed with us, so we haven't even officially announced her as of yet.
Oh, sorry, she's not on the site yet.
No,
Oh,
she's on the site. She was on there last week.
I was going to
But
say, yeah.
whenever we have a superstar such as her join the PodSTARZ family, we love to do announcements, which is basically them doing a quick video saying, "Hi, I'm such and such, and I'm an actor, actresses, whatever the case is, and book me for your podcast at podstarz.net. That way they can put on their socials, we can put it on ours, and everyone or the podcast community now knows that these people are accessible through our website and they're good to be booked.
Yeah, I think Emma Diaz was one of the ones.
Emma Diaz, that's it.
Yeah,
Yes,
she was on
yes.
NXT, yeah, Next Gen. Yes, I remember doing that. Yeah, so that's one of them for sure. I mean, there's, as you said, there's loads of them. What is the actual goal though going forward? Obviously, with the wrestlers that you mentioned, WWE is potentially you may have some things that you can't. It may be that they can, but they can't talk about certain things or
Yeah.
what have you. But in terms of a goal sort of going forward for you guys, what is that looking like of a plan of say next 2 years?
Well, we have a few things that we're kicking around. The main and it's this was a difficult business to start, and it's not, I wouldn't say difficult to run, but it's different. We are not like any other business that's out there. There is nobody that is like what we are doing. So getting business insurance was difficult. Putting a business plan together was difficult because there's a lot of questions that are asked that we don't qualify for. So we're checking a lot of other boxes instead of actually qualifying for something else. So we do have a couple of things in mind, but as for the next 2 years, I mean, we are just trying to get as many eyes in front of the podcast community as we can. And when we started this business, before we officially launched the website, we at Podstar thought that getting the talent would be the most difficult part because some people are just not willing to take a chance. Well, we were wrong. The celebrities fell quickly as long as you got in contact with them and you were straightforward and honest and you know you presented them with a great presentation, they were good to go. The podcast community has been the difficult part because other than social media, you can't really advertise because if you were to put up a billboard in Times Square, that wouldn't bring any return on investment because the number of podcasters who would see it and understand what you do through a billboard are
Mm.
slim to none. Putting an ad in a newspaper may get a few people, but again, return on investment. If you're going to take out an ad in a paper, you've got to make sure that you get return. So it's been very difficult. Social media has been, it is what it is. As a 45-year-old man who doesn't really know what a hashtag is to this day, I have a guy, my partner, he's the social media guy. So he's making the videos and the stuff for me to put out on Twitter. And we have had, companies like yourself, hit us up and do business with us. But the problem we're having is just getting in front of the podcast community in general. And one way to do that is by going to podcast conferences. Unfortunately, we're in Canada. A lot of these podcast conferences are on the other side of the world for us. I mean, you would know in England, if you wanted to go to a podcast conference, a lot of them are in Arizona, Florida, Las Vegas, and getting all of your merch and all that stuff to another state and transferring your money over and hotels and food and taking real time off real jobs. It's difficult. So the plan for the next 2 years is to hopefully be a little bit more successful as opposed to like getting a lot more podcasters using the service and just continue making people happy. And we also like to hear success stories from podcasters who say like, wow, I had Buff Bagwell on my podcast and he killed it, man. I got like an extra 400 downloads off of that. We like that kind of stuff. And we put that on our website. Like, we just recently had a success story. We have a former Major League Baseball player who unfortunately lost his legs. And he is on our website and he's a super nice guy, but he still plays the game. He still puts the jersey on, the hat on, the glove, and he throws the ball around and he has a great time. He was booked for a podcast and he blew up on this guy's podcast and he had an extra 275 downloads. So it's success stories like that that make me happy and make it all worthwhile because as a father of two with two dogs as well in a full-time job, it's very hard to run this business and dedicate any part of your life to anything else. So when I see a success story like that, it makes me happy and it's all worthwhile.
Oh, we could give you an ex. We had James Ellsworth. We got off you guys. My colleague's done it. But we interviewed him, and we just done that. We just asked just a general question, and the answer to the question blew up in the wrestling community. We were like on dirt sheets and like the American.
Nice.
I'll have to dig it out somewhere. 'Cause I've still got it, and it was just like it was just what I'd say an everyday run of the mill question, and like bang out of that, here comes like all of the sort of Fightfuls and wrestling news observers was like, oh yeah, here's the link to the the interview on the Hitting the Turnbuckle website, or the YouTube channel that we got, and bang, from that very interview, we had like a load of additional bits and pieces. So it was crazy. I'll have to do something like that actually, because
Yeah, I mean, and your social media probably blew up a little bit more than usual
yeah.
because you're getting likes and retweets, all that good stuff. And I mean, we have had a few people who, when we've presented this opportunity for PodStars to them, they've been worried about something just like that, where
Hmm.
I'm an open book, but I say stupid things and I don't want to get in trouble and get canceled or any of that sort of stuff. So we have run into that. So it's good to hear that James Ellsworth said something that the dirt sheets picked up on, and he's still with us, so he didn't get canceled, which is good because James Ellsworth is a super nice dude. And yeah, so I'm glad to hear that you had some success with him as well.
Yeah, exactly. That it's been great. I mean, everyone. I mean, we said we've had Jake the Snake. He was fantastic, especially growing up in that era. It was great. He's actually over here doing free shows for one of my
Yes.
co-hosts. One of my co-hosts works for Inside the Ropes, who they brung him over to do like an intimate evening with Jake the Snake. So it's the last night tonight in London. Funnily enough, that was an additional one. But yeah, Buff Bagwell was another great one for us. It was so much fun with Buff Bagwell on the show, and I think he's I think he's the top video that we've got out there at the moment
Well,
on the
you were the
YouTube.
first person to book Buff Bagwell, and the day of the podcast, he had to call me because, again, he's not great with technology either. So I had to walk him through the whole website. But then after your interview was done, he was the first person to shoot me an interview and said, "Man, that was a great interview. I had a great time. Thank you for this opportunity with PodStars. Let's keep this ball rolling." I'm like, "Absolutely." So, he traveled in the same circle as Jake the Snake, so they kind of got each other on the website, which was great. Now we're hoping for the white whale of Diamond Dallas Page.
We've
That would be
had him. Not,
fantastic. Oh
yeah,
man, super nice
DDP was
guy.
great. Diamond
So
Dallas Page was awesome. We had him on after Buff, funnily enough. He was another one of my co-host Dave, who he was a big WCW guy growing up. So Dave was like, that was one of his big like ones for him. But yeah, I mean, there's so many that you could throw out there to give you. You could throw so many names over to you, but it's easy to give you the names, but it's that next part which is, as you say, presenting it to that particular people. I mean, like
yeah,
Raven would be another one, would be incredible for his mind and for me, like for example, for us on the podcast, and we sort of mentioned about sort of getting into the news and stuff like we we don't want to do well. Say we don't want to do that. We do, but for the right reasons. And I think the times that we've got in there have just been asking a standard question, not trying to dig dirt or try and say, oh, say something
right.
bad about so and so. We don't do that. That's not what we do. But we always ask questions that we want to, that we feel as if we would like to ask, or stories that we'd love to know about, as you say, growing up watching them. And it's been like through that we've had so much success. But yeah, Buff and Diamond Dallas Page, Jake the Snake was great as well. But as we're getting ready to wrap up now, you did mention that there is a certain a TNA wrestler that may or may not have shown up on WWE television last week that will be
Yes.
soon to be going on via the Podstar. So go ahead and tell us who that is.
Our latest signee to the PodStars website is none other than TNA's knockout champion of the world, Miss Jordan Grace, who just a couple of days after we had talked to each other, kind of kayfabed me and showed up on WWE NXT and is now crossing the line, I guess is the term they want to use. I think that's what they're going
Yeah,
with.
that's it.
And so, yeah, she will be on TNA, WWE, and PodStars as well. Now, unfortunately, she's super busy because she
Yes.
is traveling between two companies. So she's coming on the website. It's just a matter of us getting a couple of minutes to sit down and get her signed up, and she's good to go. But she's looking forward to doing some podcasts. And she said that assuming things go well, her husband might be the next domino to fall, and we might be welcoming Mr. Grisham to PodStars as well. Cross our fingers. Let's just get work on one massive superstar at a time and get Miss Grace on the website. And you were the first person to reach out and say that you were all in when she gets on the site.
Yeah.
So she's on the way. So patience is a virtue, my friend, and we will get her on your show.
We would definitely have her. The wallet's here. Do you want to take it now? John Gresham's another one. But just before we start wrapping up, so that if, say, you're a podcaster and you want to sign up for the Podstars, where do they go? How do they do it? What's that process?
So it's super easy. The whole process takes less than 5 minutes. You head over to podstars.net. You create a host account if you're a podcaster. And once we approve you, because we do our due diligence, we make sure that you're an actually legit podcaster, because we don't want to have that incident where someone books one of our celebrities and asks them questions that they'd prefer not to be asked. So we do our homework to make sure you are legit. Once we verify who you are and your show is good to go, then we verify your account. You create your profile and you're free to book away. We have two sections, professionals and celebrities. So we aren't just a Cameo celebrity site. Also, for $9 US a month, you have access to over 250 professionals who are hardworking, amazing people who do not have the platform to talk about their amazing achievements. So as I spoke about, the South African Safari Guide, he's there. The first Major League Baseball umpire to be an author and come out as the first homosexual baseball umpire. He is on our site. Mr. Dale Scott, fantastic guy, great baseball stories. We have a whole bunch of true crime. If you're a true crime podcast, then PodSTARZ is what you want. We have lawyers, judges, CSI experts, sheriffs, NYPD, FDNY. I mean, we have covered that base. So for $9 a month, you have access to over 250 professionals, and then travel on over to the celebrity side. It's a pay-as-you-go system. We don't tell the celebrities what to ask for per appearance. We don't tell them what to ask for. It's whatever they feel that they're worth. And yeah, you book them accordingly. PodSTARZ sends out reminder emails to both parties to make sure that no one forgets about the podcast. I'm always in constant contact with all of the celebrities to make sure that everything's good to go. And the added bonus that we offer, whenever you book a podcast through the PodSTARZ site, we do a custom graphic for you with your podcast logo and the celebrity that you're talking to. We put a nice little graphic to you and we send it to you free of charge, just for being a customer of the PodSTARZ site. And we're very happy to do that.
Yeah, and we're very happy to have, well, to be putting our getting celebrities from you onto our podcast, which is great. One of the things I do, it's a little tip to the podcast addict, because you do all right in what you're saying. So obviously you can verify as much, you can do the much verifying as you can do to make sure that we're a legit podcast. When you get to select your celebrity, and you can get select, some of them have set times, they can do 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour. Obviously the cost will increase depending on, you know, if you're going for that form, but there's also a bit there where you can post a link to the podcast and then post, there's like a little bit underneath that we can free type a little bit of stuff. Generally what we do, and again, it's to put their mind at ease as well, is we set a format so that they know what we're going to be talking to them about. We don't necessarily post every single question, but they're going to get the gist of what we're talking to them about, so that they understand that, oh, we're going to go on this show. Oh, we're talking this. They have an idea. Don't have to do that, but we try to set the guests' expectations as to that's what we're going to be talking about. Again, sometimes just put them at ease a little bit. If
It's
they,
a safe space for everybody, right? And
yeah,
and that puts them at ease. The other thing about PodSTARZ that we do, and obviously you know since you've done it, is we have a countdown. So
yes,
if you book a celebrity for 45 minutes, there's a countdown clock going on for both parties, letting you know that your time is about to expire. Because we've had some people who said, like, I got asked to do a 45-minute podcast and the guy kept me on for 2.5 hours.
yeah,
So we do that. We make sure that you know, if you pay for 45 minutes, then you know, there is a small window, of course, but 45 minutes is generally, you know, what you're going to get out of that. So, and if, Jesus, there's so many other things that we could have touched on, I guess, but I'm truly happy to have someone like you that has given me this platform to talk about PodSTARZ, get it out. Because like I said, getting in touch with the podcast community has proven to be a little bit more difficult than we would have liked. Oh, and one more thing, one of the reasons why the website was so expensive was because what the entire podcast goes through the PodSTARZ website.
yeah,
So the days of you sending your link, your Squadcast, your Zoom, or whatever to an email are done. As you talked about earlier, when you're booking your celebrity, you put your link right on the screen. It goes right to the celebrity via our website. When the podcast comes due, they open up their account on the PodSTARZ site. They click on the link you provided, and you're instantly connected through the PodSTARZ website. So that's why we are so different than everybody else, because there are a few companies that are similar to what we're doing, minus the celebrity side, but you can book people and stuff like that through a website. But our website takes away the sending of the email and the vice versa and the back and forth. It's all done through our website, and it's very easy. It's very convenient, and we hope that we get some people who want to experience it.
Yeah, we're definitely one of them, and we'll continue to do so. But those of you that want to go and do that, go to podstars.net. As you said there, to create your own account. If you're a host of a podcast, create it all. Once all the background checks are done, so to speak, you'll get the confirmation that you're good to go, and you are free to book anyone that you want. Well, anyone that's on there anyway, not
Yes,
necessarily
yes.
anyone that you want, anyone that's on there. But thank you so much for coming on and enlightening us about the journey. We will be obviously booking some more stars through you very, very soon. You can count on that. We'll definitely miss Jordan Grace, and obviously EC3 and Aaron Stevens will be two other people that we will be putting through, because, and I need to do a little bit of promoting here, we're going to be doing another series of NWA. This time it's territorial talk. With the fact that NWA are now reaching, or now have put the territories back in the United States, we're going to Exodus Pro Wrestling. We're going to be talking to Jay Kazana Promotions, Exodus Pro Wrestling stars as well. And of course, as we've mentioned, the Jordan Grace will be coming on at some point once she's ready and a little bit less hectic in her life,
Yes.
for
Yes.
sure. And we can't wait to see other names that you announce. You always, when you have that announcement to say you've got a name, we're always waiting to see if it's a wrestler, because if it is, you can damn well sure it's coming on this channel right here, the Hitting the Turnbuckle.
Like I said, Comic-Con is this weekend, and I have my goal set on Dustin Runnels. He is one of my all-time favorites.
Yes.
Gold Dust is one of my top five.
Yeah.
You're not going to hear that a lot, but a lot of people. I was a Gold Dust fanatic,
Yes.
so to have him under the PodSTARZ umbrella would be almost as good as Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, exactly that. And again, if that name ever gets put on that PodSTARZ channel, one of the first people you can damn well rest assured we'll be doing it. But thank you so much, and good luck with all of this. We can't wait.
Thank you, sir.
We can't wait to go on that journey with you as well, because obviously, as you say, the more the wrestling for us, the more the wrestlers that go on, the more the people that we'll be booking for you. We want to take that journey with you. But fantastic for coming on this evening. Thank you so much for giving
I
us.
appreciate it.
And thanks for giving us our memories as well as a child, to be able to book the heroes that we've had growing up. And we'll continue to do
That's
that.
great. Thank you so much.
Future.
That's really nice to say. Thank you so much.
No problem at all, guys. This has been the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast with PodSTARZ.net. And we'll see you soon. Until then, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.